GBC has been highlighting the appalling living conditions for some in rent-controlled upper-town properties for a number of years. Many are not fit for human habitation. But while the government places the onus on landlords to make repairs and maintain reasonable standards on these dwellings, often issuing abatement notices, landlords say they can't afford it.
When a landlord receives £30, £40 in rent a month, how is he expected to fix anything? Remember, this rental and everything that's happening has been going on now for 1984, before that, and people are still paying the same rents. They can't expect the landlord to fix anything from a window to a boiler when they're only receiving 30, 40, 50 pounds in rent. That's ridiculous. It doesn't happen anywhere else in Europe.
Mr. Perera owns a number of properties, but he says he can only afford to fix them up once they become vacant, as he can then make an application to decontrol the rent. But it can be a difficult and costly process.
There was one unit where one family lived. The head of the family died and the children had been given government housing, but they wouldn't hand me back the keys. So it took me 4 years and a lot of money in legal fees to get it back. Eventually I got it back, and I've converted it into units which are now rented long term. But it cost me 4 years to get it back, loads of money in legal fees, and 4 years without receiving any rent.
Landlords believe that released from the shackles of rent control, they'd be able to refurbish their properties, which would in turn regenerate parts of the upper town.
This one will probably go for about 700 a month, and I would think this would be fair. A one-bedroom in Jib for 700 is hard to get.
And then obviously that would be enough for you to maintain the property.
Of course, 700. This one used to pay £10.93 a month. From £10.93 to 700, it's quite a difference. With 700, it's enough.
It can take years and tens of thousands of pounds to evict illegal tenants, with properties neglected in the meantime.
I can show you what I've paid in legal fees in the last 4 or 5 years, and I wish I had known what it was going to cost, and I would never got into this. But I've spent over £200,000 in the last 4 years in legal fees, and that's the reason I have to sell, because I still owe the bank a lot of money. I bought them in the 1980s and some in the 90s, and the whole concept of rental control was changing in the whole of Europe, and I thought that maybe it was going to change here as well. And I took a gamble, which now didn't work out, unfortunately. And the state now is that in most of Europe, rent control doesn't exist. It still exists here.
The Housing Minister told GBC in a recent interview that she would like to visit the Upper Town area with a landlord. So would they be taking her up on her offer?
I actually sent her an email, I think it was 2 weeks ago, because I actually met her on the street, and we had a brief talk, and then I actually sent her an email, but unfortunately she still hasn't replied. But I proposed, in the same way that she went with Henry Pina round the areas, to do exactly what I've done with you and show her exactly what can be done. We have to sit down, Action for Housing, government, landlords, we all have to sit down together and find a joint solution. It's not government, it's not Action for Housing, it's not us. I believe that together we can do something and put forward our ideas. I think we can work together easily. It shouldn't be a problem.
The landlords and the Housing Minister will have a chance to put their views to one another on Viewpoint this Thursday at 9:30 on GBC. Don't miss it.
And joining the Housing Minister and the Landlords Association on tonight's panel are the Shadow Minister for Housing, Action for Housing and the Environmental Agency.